Hello there and welcome to the promised counterpart to last week's video. Although don't worry if you haven't seen last week's video yet, you don't have to watch them in order. There isn't a plot or anything. You can watch the other one after this one. So, last time I didn't really talk about the actual subject matter or the actual painting process. I kind of just talked. I don't really know what I talked about, honestly. It was a little while ago now, so I've completely forgotten. Anyway, as always, I started with an acrylic layer. I start all my oil paintings with an acrylic underlayer, just to kind of prime the canvas and give the oil paint something to hold on to. It's a good idea. I don't really know the science behind it, but I know that it's better to do that. And just like last time, I decided that the acrylic layer was too bright and I wanted to darken it. So now I'm just mixing up a very thin glaze of oil paint and trying to darken the whole canvas. This turned out to be, well, it didn't go well at first because the brush I'm using is really cheap, like really cheap. So it's literally falling apart onto the canvas and leaving all those little grains and fibres everywhere, which I really hated at first. And I tried to sweep them off, but it wasn't happening. Once they're on there, they're on there. And I kind of considered just scrapping it and starting again, but then my partner looked at it and said that it was a cool effect that made it look much older than it is, and he thought it was intentional, so I just went with it. I decided to just leave it like that, and I think he's right. It does make the canvas look older, and it does look like an intentional effect, so let's pretend I meant to do that. The actual painting this time is of Polteagheist, which is another one of the new generation of Pokemon. It's from Pokemon Sword and Shield. This is the direct counterpart to the painting I did last week of Sinistea. This is the evolved form of that Pokemon. These guys just kind of struck a chord with me. I think they're cute and funny. I do have one on my team, of course. Leave me a comment, let me know if you're also playing Pokemon Sword or Shield. Tell me which version you got. And I did mention in the last video how I had hoped to make these very old-fashioned looking, and I wanted them to appear to be sort of classical still life paintings, but the subject matter was Pokemon, and how that didn't really work out, but I went into all of that in the last video. So today I'm going to tell you about what did kind of go well. I think the teapot itself does look like the Polteagheist teapot. I think that turned out okay. Like, I'm pretty sure any Pokemon fan who saw this would recognise it. At least, I hope so. The flowers around the sides did turn out pretty much how I hoped, despite being a little more vibrant than I had wanted. I know the video did jump for a second there and they all filled in. There was a little bit of lost footage in the middle, but don't worry about it. The process of me painting in all those little individual petals isn't particularly interesting, and I'm sure I have loads of other videos of me doing that. If you really want to see me painting each individual petal of a flower, go through my other painting videos. There's plenty of examples of it. Or if you want me to do just that in like a close-up, I might. Maybe I'll do a tutorial video on painting chrysanthemums or something. I do love painting lots of little complicated flowers. I love and hate it. It's a real pain in the ass, but it looks nice, so it's worth it. And I do like the painting process, so, whatever. That's not the point. That's not what we're here to talk about today. We're talking about the teapot. and the berries down at the bottom of the page, which I will paint in later, so I should talk about those later. Right now, we're painting the teapot. I had to adjust this so much because it was just too dark, and I kept painting in lighter layers and lighter layers to try and brighten it a little bit, but it was too dark compared to the flowers around it. And I think in the final version, in the end, it still is too dark, but I just wasn't willing to keep working on it. Eventually you get to a point with paintings where you have to decide it's done, or at least I do. I have to just decide that it's finished and I'm not gonna keep working on it anymore, because otherwise I will just work on something forever. Do you do that? Let me know if you do. Let me know I'm not alone in just perpetually working on things. I did some sketches of Polteagheist and Sinisty, and I did some sketches of various different teapots and teacups. And I'm kind of wondering if I should have done more. I might still do more and then do another bigger painting. I have plans for a bigger Pokemon themed still life painting involving a lot more different items from the game and manga or anime or wherever I can see good reference images of the items from Pokemon. I've done loads of sketches of the different types of Pokeball and the berries in the Pokemon universe. And I'm wondering if there's other plants maybe that are specific. I'm going to have to research that more. But I would like to do more still life paintings of items from the games, items that are maybe held by Pokemon or that are item based Pokemon themselves, like this one, like Polteagheist and Sinisty, are a teapot and a teacup, and Klefki is a bunch of keys. I might include that. And none of the others are jumping to mind. But you know, the likes of, oh no, all their names have jumped out of my head. The pumpkin one. Pumpkaboo. That's the one I mean. Can't believe I forgot his name. Anyway, maybe one of those. Can you tell my favourites are the ghost types? Anyway, that's a bigger project that I will maybe do in the coming year. But right now I just did these two little studies, I guess. I mean, I suppose they're not just studies, they're finished paintings. But they're a prototype version of something bigger that I'm going to work on in the future. So the berries and plant life around this, obviously the flowers aren't Pokemon specific. I'm not sure if there are any plants and flowers specific to the Pokemon universe. Like I said, I would need to research that. But the berries down at the bottom of the canvas, they are specific because the Pokemon games have had berries in them for years now. You can plant them and grow trees and then use them to make food and items and stuff, just in case you didn't know or don't play these games. But they all have their own names and they all look different. They're not the same as, you know, normal fruit that's from the real world. And I tried to make them look a little more realistic, but not quite. I was going to paint them in their colours from the game, so they would be more blue and green and yellow and pink or whatever. But in the end, I decided to make them look a little more realistic. So for this painting, they're kind of just like cherries and brambles, and it's not really obvious that they're Pokemon items, which maybe was a mistake, but I don't know, honestly. It's done now. and I think they fit with the flowers around them, so that's okay. I didn't want them to be too blue because I wanted the blue to be kind of focused on the teapot to make it stand out. So everything around it is like pink and purple and green and all the other colours. Does that make sense? Anyway, I've done loads of sketches of these berries and what type they are and what colour they should be and all of that. Loads and loads of reference sketches because, you know, that's a key part of doing any artwork at all is your reference sketches. But we don't need to go into that right now. I'm not getting into why you should reference. Maybe I'll do a whole other video on that. Leave me a comment if you'd like me to do a whole video just screaming, yes, you should use references. If you don't, you're doing it wrong. Because that's what that argument amounts to, if you ask me. Anyway, back on subject. All these little cherries and brambles down around the bottom of the canvas were surprisingly easy to paint because I have done paintings of fruit before, because pretty much every artist practices by painting still lives of fruit and vegetables and objects and whatnot. There's definitely other paintings on my channel of me just painting cherries and apples and such, which might not be very interesting, but I don't know, if you like watching people paint, then look them up. Right, I don't know that I have much else to say. Did I really talk that much about what I'm doing? I don't know. Let me know if there's any specific tutorials or specific subjects to do with art that you would like me to make videos on in the coming year, because I would like to start doing that. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye!